Hey, everybody, welcome to the Uncaped Mama podcast, where I help you shed the superwoman persona and just be. As a mama, as a woman, as a friend, as a supporter of mamas, this is just your place to exist. So, thank you for joining me. I am Dom Gonzalez, and I am your host. Let's dive in. Okay, Samantha, thank you for joining me on Uncaped Mama, the podcast.
Hey.
We are excited to have you in this space. I am excited to have you in this space to talk about self care and mental health and really honestly, whatever we get into. But before we dive too deep, tell us who you are, what you do, give us your socials. You can tell us your husband's socials if he's got something going on, your kids if they got something going on. I'm like, we're gonna put families on every time we're on the podcast.
Oh, I loved it.
So
Yes,
yeah, give us the intro. Tell us all about you and what you do.
the show. Um, yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. I am Samantha Wakefield of Mindful Mocha Mama, and you can find me at Mindful Mocha Mama on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, Mindful Mocha Mama. And head to the site mindfulmochamama.com. Yeah, and that's where you can find me. um yeah, I am super thrilled about what we're going to talk about. My own personal journey is so much informed by my work, and so I'm ready. Let's get at it.
I'm excited about it. That's really the point of this podcast, really, is for me to share my own personal journey and bring in folks who also have these special parts of their journey that inform what they do now. So this is super timely. We were talking before we even pressed record. So tell us why Mindful Mocha Mama, why the work that you do, why mental health, why self-care, why? Like, how did this come about? Because to a little background, you all used to be a teacher. I taught fifth grade in Atlanta, and her husband was my coach. So
Yes.
she's Samantha, he's Samuel. I was like, that's so cool. Like when I first found out. And then we ended up going to the same church. And so I'm seeing them all the time. And just like these natural sort of connections, right? That just form as you know, folks. And over time, um, connections on social media, I started to see her business. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on there? Didn't understand almost how to connect. Like, how do I connect with her? How do I find out more? I'll just keep following. And then probably about a month ago or something came up and it was like I actually like clicked through and read instead of just like mindlessly scrolling. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I can talk to her. So she was reaching out to me at the same
The same
time.
time.
So we scheduled a time to chat, and then we're like, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna have this
So
conversation and do a
aligned.
lot more. It was perfect.
It was perfect timing. I had I seen a couple of your posts about your son, and I love when people sort of engage with their families. And then I saw Mama Uncapped, what's this? And so I played the little sample. I was like, yes, I need to connect with her because, like we said earlier, it's a movement, and a lot of what we talk about is, countercultural, so you
Yeah.
feel isolated. It's not talked about a lot. And anybody, I just like how Issa Rae was like, I'm voting for everybody Black. Anybody that's out here talking about mental health, mamahood, parenting consciously, self-care, I'm trying to link up. That's just what I'm about right now. So I'm so happy that the stars were aligned.
Yes, I'm like, there is no way. But so many like really cool divine things just keep happening. And I'm like, that is because I am in alignment with people who are also like getting in alignment or in alignment, and it's just starting to flow. This whole
Yeah.
podcast was sort of an idea where I said, I don't like the mom groups on Facebook. Like everyone's judgmental. Everyone has their ideas of like what you should and shouldn't do,
Mhm.
how you should be that. Then people are telling moms they're not important in a time. where they're overwhelmed, their body's trying to heal, their hormones are doing all kinds of stuff. Kids are changing every second, right? There's
Yeah.
pressure to snap back and to go to work and keep accomplishing, and the cost of everything is going up. Like just all of these things and just trying to exist as yourself.
Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
nobody's talking about it. You either have like there's these extremes of people who appear perfect. Every day is great. Kids never have a tantrum. They, oh look, they're eating perfectly and whatever.
Yeah.
And then you have the other end where there are people who don't want to do this and they're
Yeah.
harming themselves or their children, or they're just sort of like leaving them. Like
Yeah.
they're literally taking kids back to like the fire stations now.
Yeah.
Literally, I've heard multiple stories lately. And for
Yeah.
me, that signified there needs to be some sort of balance. Like things have got to balance out. We've got to be
Oh
honest about what's going
my.
on. And so this conversation is going to be all of that. So how
Yeah.
did you get into creating your platform? What led you there? And why do you keep going?
Um, so I am a nurse practitioner by profession. And so like many professional, you know, highly, quote unquote, highly educated Black people out here doing their thing, I was very much groomed for like this, I'm gonna just go after it lifestyle, right? So, you know, you go to these schools, you graduate, you know, go out here and that type of upbringing, it helped me get to where I am. I grew up in Baltimore. We were very much in an urban low income area. So my mom was like, education is the way, right? But that mindset did not carry over once I started having children and looking at everything that society, culture, my partner, my own expectations, like there was no room for it and it was looming
Yeah.
large. And I remember one day after I have four girls, by the way. I remember one day after my third baby, and I guess that was just the straw that broke the camel's back, you know, because you know they say you get outnumbered when you get to that third one. And I literally had about 7 weeks of 6 weeks of leave. I didn't have any extra. It was like
Okay.
that 6 weeks. And I remember the day before I was meant to go back to work. I just cried, like broke down. And for the next like couple of weeks, I felt completely disconnected to myself, disconnected to my child.
Yeah.
She wasn't sleeping through the night yet. So I was literally a zombie showing up for work, trying to care for other people in this nursing role and not giving, no flying. And I remember it was just like, this is not me. Who is this person? You know, I did not recognize myself. And so that was like the impetus for me shifting to this brand, this movement, because I had to heal myself, sis. Like
Yes.
the postpartum depression was real. I did not recognize myself. It was a dark place. And because I'm grateful that I had, you know, a little bit of the clinical awareness to recognize it. And also I was like, I need help, you know. And so once I started reaching out for help and getting different recommendations on how to sort of deal with it, nothing quite, just like you said about the Facebook groups, nothing quite hit home for me, you know. And I was like, God, what is there? And that's when mindfulness just showed up for me. It was like, now kind of God might have used the algorithm, because for sure it showed up in the Amazon.
Of course.
They was spying on me. I don't know,
That's how it happens every time.
you
As
know,
soon as
but
we
a
finish this
mindful,
podcast, we're going to
yeah,
get coffee because
exactly,
we're talking about mocha, right? All these mindfulness things are going to come up, and then every single mom thing.
exactly. That's what happened. Truth. And so all this mindfulness stuff came up, and I really didn't know anything about it. And so I was just like, wow, this was in 2015.
Okay.
And I was just like, what is this mindfulness? And what is this? And that's when I started on the journey of using meditative practices, mind body practices, to truly heal myself from the inside out, recognizing that it wasn't just let me fix this thing that's broken. Literally, it was like, let me reconnect to who I truly am, and then things will fall in line. It was more of a return to wellness versus just trying to patch it all together so I can go back out there and be a robot for the world.
Yeah.
Selling my soul to capitalism.
Basically. I love that you talked about like the disconnection from your body and like not being yourself. I love that you then talked about the healing process was like coming back into yourself, into your body. And I know that we've had conversations before, also like probably the true essence of who you are, not what you had become. Because I relate to your story of growing up. I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm the youngest grandchild of 5, my mom's youngest of 2, but all of my other cousins who were older than me were like, they were getting in trouble and whatever. My great grandma cut it out, like when we were
Yeah.
at her house. And so I was compliant because I didn't want to get in trouble like everyone else. So I'm like, okay, they told me to do this, so I did that. Well, what that does is bring achievement. Like it brings accomplishment. You get rewarded for compliance at school. You get rewarded, like if you pay attention long enough, you're compliant long enough, you're going to learn something, right? I'm going to be able to do the memorization. At least that's how school was back then. Like I'm going to be able to accomplish all that. So of course I'm going to be on the honor roll and win the science fair and all those sorts of things. It's just the practice, right? That created somebody who could achieve anything if I wanted to. What that did not create was like wholeness. I constantly felt misunderstood. I was anxious. I was paranoid. I thought everybody was against me. I did not think anyone could be trusted. Like I had to go. I probably spent a year in therapy on trust and why I did not think anyone on earth could be trusted, including myself. That's how bad it was. I'm like, yeah, because people are capable of anything. So, and the reason is because of this like disconnection from like humanity. I literally was a machine. I was trained to be compliant because compliant gets you things and it gets you success. And so then you start to grow into adulthood, and I hit my 30s where I realized, oh girl, you know nothing. You don't know nothing. I can't believe people let you teach their children. And by the way, I wasn't a bad teacher. My students loved me.
I know you weren't.
Sam will tell you I was doing a pretty good job, even though I was kind of questioning myself. But I got to 30 and was like, I don't know anything. Nothing. I don't even know myself. Like, who am I? People are asking who you are, what's your most interesting fact and that sort of thing. And I'm like, I don't know. Whatever everybody else told me, and it doesn't really feel like me. I'm constantly code switching everywhere. With this family member, when I'm dating somebody, when I'm not dating somebody, on this social, I was on Twitter and I was one person, and I was a completely different person on Facebook, and I was a completely different person on Instagram. And then in real life, I was a completely different person. And then at work, I was something else. Exhausting. Okay. Exhausting.
Exhausting.
All of that comes to a head when you become a mom.
I was just going to say, it's like a house of cards, right? And you put the mom, which is like a rock, on a house of cards, it just come crashing down. Because guess what? It takes a lot of energy to code switch. It takes a lot. People don't realize just how much outward energy it takes to wear these different masks. So you add on top of that sleep deprivation. You add on top of that, like not eating well. You add on top of that, hormone shifts. There's no way that you can keep the facade up on this deficit. So for real, it can be both a sort of a catastrophic, like, what is my life situation, but I also see it as a beautiful opportunity
Yes.
to rebuild yourself from the inside out. And that's what I really like. My heart's desire and my focus with Mindful Mocha Mama is for women and for moms to literally see this as an opportunity to mother yourself, to
Yeah.
like reparent yourself. Like we have so many childhood wounds that are impacting how we show up in our lives and as we parent, and call some of that energy back to yourself. Hey, some days I'm like, I'm calling all the energy back.
All of it. Every bit.
Every single once. I'm calling all it back to myself. But having a regular practice of calling your energy back to yourself so that we can heal, so we can heal, so we can show up as our best selves, and so we can make conscious choices that are aligned and stop doing what mom and them told us to do, what mom and them thought was best for us, what society says we got to do to produce. Like, get clear enough with these different practices so that you can actually be this, own your power, be this autonomous person and connected to who you are. So then my next steps, I'm like, I'm good. I don't care what's going on. I know that this step is aligned with me.
Yeah.
So everybody be damned. You know, you got to have a nice, healthy effort attitude sometimes to take care of yourself, you know?
Yes. It's that like I'm unapologetically me in my
Yes.
full humanity, meaning I'm not perfect. I can accomplish great things. Some days are going to be great. Some days I'm going to have a really tough time. Some days I'm going to mess up, but everyone is. There is no like perfect mother. And the other thing that I realized in becoming a mom at 36 and like being a mom of two by 38 is that no one, and I'm not going to allow it either, nobody can parent my children better than me. Nobody can mom my children better than me. There's
Yeah.
no way that you can come in. Like, I'm their biggest advocate. I'm paying
Yeah.
attention to them. Yes, they have like other care providers and things, but nobody knows them better than me. And honestly, nobody knows me better than them. They literally
Yes.
lived in my body. They felt everything that I felt. And even as these little people who can't, you know, form full sentences and all of that, they can tell like mom doesn't feel good in all
Yes.
their energy. And so then you'll see these babies like, I'm just gonna come like cuddle next to you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a fever and it's already hot. And they're like, it's okay. I'm gonna snuggle up under you. Or that's when you randomly get the mom, and like a slobbery kiss on the cheek, you know.
Yes.
And you know, it's that when you come back into yourself, you recognize like I was meant for this. I was meant for these children,
Yes.
but I can't be anything for them unless I take care of me. And I know that that's like a radical thought. So like
It is
in your work,
such a shift.
yeah, how
It
do
is
you help
such-
people come to that? Like, no, truly, you have to take care of yourself before
what
everybody else.
what I love about what you said, because I believe that so much of motherhood has been stripped of its sort of spiritual purpose and role in our life. And so that's number one. I remind women that this particular role is a spiritual one. It is greater than, you know, what the day-to-day tasks that you are performing.
Yeah,
Okay. It is a calling. It is, I believe that our children choose us. That's a spiritual
same.
belief that I truly have,
Yeah,
that they came here because there were lessons that you were meant to impart. You, not this perfect version of you, but you as you are going to be the lessons that they need to learn, overcome, to self-actualize. So that's one thing. I try to make sure that because that's where so much of the pain and suffering comes from, this disconnection from the spiritual sort of value of because it releases a lot of pressure, right? I don't have to be something else. My kids chose me. They knew who I was. They, like you said, they knew who you are, know who you are. They knew what kind of mother they was gonna get, you know, so that releases you from this perfectionism, from this motherhood ideal that so many people are trapped by. So that's the first thing. It's just realizing that, and I love what you said. It's like they are not only you are teaching them, but they are teaching you, right? Like
every day.
my kids know, my kids reflect back at me my pain, my joy, my wounds. Like I remember early on when I was I have all different kinds of girls. I have all girls. And my second one is the like empathic, sensitive one that is just a ball of emotion. And I remember one time we were outside and she was having a meltdown in front of the slide. And I felt rise up in me just this anger toward her being emotional. And I had the awareness to be like, what is this? You know, I didn't lash out on her. I was just like, what is this? Anger towards her being emotional. And it was like the more emotional she was, it was reflecting back at me this self dismissive, this, I would even say to some point, sometimes a hatred of myself, of the emotional self in me. All right.
Oh, yeah.
So in that moment, I'm looking at her, being angry at her, but I'm just like, I'm angry at me. I'm hating on me. That part of me that's sensitive. That part of me that when I was young felt like couldn't be that soft, mushy person. You're not gonna make it, girl, if you just wear your heart on your sleeve all the time, type of attitude that I got from my mom or grandmother and different things like that. And not intentionally all the time, but you know, that was just the prevailing way of raising kids. It was like the school of hard knocks. And so in that moment, she reflected back at me like, you need to heal this in yourself. You need to love on that sensitive, overly emotional ball of tears little girl inside of you. And that's what parenthood can do for us. That is what motherhood can do for us. It can save us from ourselves if we let it. If we let it.
Motherhood and parenting in general, but you know, we're speaking to mamas because I can speak as a mama because that's what I am. There are moments that are triggering. And so I'm listening to you talk about this slide moment, and all these moments rush back in my mind of my kids and the words that are spoken onto you and what that does to you. Now, my children are 1 and 2, but if people call them bad, it's like how can it be bad? Like God said, I created all these things and they are good. They are inherently good. They're 1 and 2 and they're doing 1 and 2-year-old things. That is not bad, right? They're exploring. They don't understand stop. There is a time where they do not understand stop. And then they're like, I don't understand why you keep saying that, because what I want to do is what I want to do right now because that's fun for me, or there's something there I'm trying to explore and engage with, because they have not been here for 39 years like me.
No.
They've been here for 39 seconds, 39 days, right? 39 weeks, right? Like they don't know, they don't understand temperature differences and seasonal changes and allergies, and then they start to feel weird in their body when they're starting to get sick, or even when they're growing, they can't verbalize that. So they do things. What I recognized is I do too. Like when I don't feel good, I am irritable. I don't want anybody talking to me, touching me. If you look at me wrong somewhere in public, I might snap. Right. And so I'm watching a 1 and a 2-year-old do that. And I'm like, oh yeah. Okay. Yep. That's very adult me. And then I end up going to therapy, or I sort of sit in reflection and I'm like, where did that come from? Because I was taught to put something on them that actually has nothing to do with them and potentially has nothing to do with me. Somebody put that on me at some point. So let's like sit here and figure out what that is. And a lot of times I realize like some of it just came from parenting, or even like teachers, like other Black women teachers that I had. It was just a few, but in the ways where when you think about what they were going through, they're like, my grandma coming out of like literally being alive during the civil rights movement across the country, but like also in the Midwest, being a woman with the last name Gonzalez, with brown skin, with people being like, how does that happen? Even though I'm like, it's obvious how that happens, but okay. Like, you know, dealing with the oldest of all these siblings, you know, that she's helping take care of, right? Then she has her own girls, and then, you know, gets religious and goes to church, and then her kids start having kids as they grow up, and then now she's a grandma and, you know, and a great auntie and all this kind of stuff. And she at the same time is just trying to survive. And
Yeah.
everything about her survival is work all the time, because working just enough for what your body is saying you should do doesn't make you enough money to take care of these children. There's racism everywhere. So like she didn't get to benefit from a soft life that
Yeah.
everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
She kind of didn't get to have soft moments, to the point where when she has to be soft, she looks visibly uncomfortable. Me too. Like, I have to be a moment where I'm like, I just want to melt. Like, I don't want to be like tough Dom. I literally just want to exist. And right now, what that means is like completely soft and feminine. And I want to be like, I want somebody to take care of me. And like, I want to sit here and like, I want to cry in this corner. And then somebody brings me like smoothies and tacos. And I get to like, oh my gosh, you know, like I get to soak it up. I, I didn't get to see her
Right.
do that until she was forced to, sick or injured or something like that. And then and then you can see the wrestling with self. Like I have always been told I have to be tough just to survive as like protection. But I'm in a moment where I am super vulnerable. I am not the self that I knew. What is happening? It's almost like a malfunctioning. Like you can see it. And I'm like, that's me. And now I'm watching these kids who are just being. Their like tantrum is because like my daughter has perfected tantrum. And I'm like, you're gonna knock yourself out the way you just throw your body back. But it's because she wants what she wants when she wants it. She's not done eating yet. And I'm moving to the flow to go get her some more food. Or she wants to play with this toy that's not hers. She doesn't understand why everything in the house is not hers. She wants it back, right? Or she's not feeling well. She's sleepy. She wants to be rocked to sleep, but she doesn't. Like she wants me to do just enough, but like I'm not figuring it out the right way. And so she's like tantrum. I just want to melt and like somebody know what I need. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I want to be, except it's unacceptable for me. But why? Why is it unacceptable for me to wear my heart on my sleeve, to be empathic, to be sensitive? Why is me being sensitive and feeling others' feelings a bad thing? Why is it a bad thing for me to be emotionally intelligent and being able to read the room? Right? Like, I think that actually makes me a good person, but I didn't realize all of those messages until people started calling my children bad. Then I'm like,
that was like your little mirror.
Yeah.
Like, so you were able to see.
So I'm like, bad, sensitive, nerdy, like all of these things that was me. Like at 4 years old, I was like inquisitive, nerdy, tough. I didn't understand why I couldn't play with the truck and play with the dolls and play the game and somebody do my hair and teach the stuffed animals, like, and why I couldn't cry. Like, how come I can't cry? What? Why would you give me an emotion I can't have? Why can't I be angry? Why can't I be full?
Girl.
I can't be full. I can't be done eating. I can't save that for labor. I can't go to bed. I can't take an extra nap. Like, what? Like all of those things. And then these labels get put on you and then you just become that thing.
Yep. And when you are not allowed from a young age to experience the fullness and breadth of your emotional capabilities, it disconnects you from yourself. Emotions are very foundational. That, you know, when you think of building a human psyche, right? Safety is at the core, right? When they're born, they need to feel safe and secure. That's why they like to snuggle up. But the very next one is like an emotional safety, an emotional feeling like I can show up, because that's how they let you know what they need. They cry, they show emotion in order to get what they need. We as moms need to show our emotions so that we can get what we need.
Yes. Because how else will people know? People will not know they're not mind readers. We hear that all the time, right? In these messages, it's like men aren't mind readers and women need to communicate and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are you allowing people to just be?
Oh my gosh, girl. I held a retreat last month, a group of women, moms, these are successful women who have decided to really pour back into themselves. They want to parent consciously. They don't want to pass on generational trauma to their kids. So they really want to heal. And I'm telling you, I did not have to do much because I believe that healing spaces are enough for you to self-heal. I believe in self-healing. So if I create a space for you to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, safe enough to show whatever shows up for you in that space is perfect, is allowed, is encouraged, like you as is. And I'm telling you, just by walking folks through different exercises to create that space, so much transformation happened. Like I didn't realize I was that backed up. And I was just telling them, that's just the beginning. Maybe now your hypertension won't be so out of control. Maybe your migraines won't be so persistent. Like there's a mind-body connection once you allow your emotions to flow and express.
And with that, we're going to continue our conversation in part 2.
Thank you for tuning in to the Uncaped Mama podcast. Follow me on social media on Instagram, Uncaped Mama and care_Bath and Body. I hope that you found this episode inspiring, relatable, and impactful. And I hope that this triggers a thought in you to be a better support system to a mama near you. Help her to put down the superwoman persona, to put her cape down, to be whole, to be all that she is destined to be as a mother and more. See you next time.